Good morning and welcome back to Hootenanny Homestead. It is about 9 o'clock in the morning and we are out here in the asparagus bed. I noticed that we have some that are starting to seed, and so uh, this seed here was collected about 2 months ago whenever it first started seeding. And so as you can tell, today's videos are going to consist of collecting seeds that are available. And we have seeds available that are in the asparagus right now. Now, a lot of times you are competing with nature when it comes time to harvest your seeds. So you, if you're looking to save it, you kind of want to beat the bluebirds and the redbirds, cardinals, robins to it before they can get to it. Now we kind of let this bed go. It's hard to weed your asparagus bed because the crowns are delicate. But you can see here they start falling over when they're ready. And there are two ways, well, there's multiple ways you can do this. Two ways that I know of. You can either cut the entire stalk and then take the seeds off, or you can pluck the seeds here. I prefer to go ahead and pluck the seeds here. I did bring scissors in case I do have to pluck it, the whole stem. And so I have a little empty bowl here, and I put a coffee filter in there. The coffee filter is just going to help with the moisture that the seed will start putting off. And it's just as simple as going through and pulling them off. You don't want to squeeze them. You just want to give them a little pull, and they'll come right off. Birds love asparagus seeds, especially the turkeys. I'm very shocked that these are even still on. In each one of these berries, you'll get probably 3 to 4. I don't know if y'all can see that. I'll go ahead and squish one. See the little black thing that pops out of there? There's probably about 3 or 4 of those in each pod. And that's the actual seed itself. And you can break it open and plant on those black seeds, but I found out that you don't really have very good germination, or germination whenever you do that. So I like to plant the entire red pod per cell, and through that you can get multiple plants off of the crown of asparagus. The crown is the root, I believe is what it's called. The homesteaders that lived here before us, or the people that lived here before us, I don't really know if they were homesteaders, but they lived in, it was pretty raw land out here, and but they had a nice size asparagus bed, and asparagus can live up to 30 years producing, 15 to 30 years depending on how it's taken care of. And when we found the beds, the goats actually led us to the beds. They kept going to the same spot over and over, and I said, what is over there that they are just so enthralled with? And lo and behold, they were eating the asparagus as it was coming up. And so we staked it off to save what we could off of it, staked it off and put a fence around it. And asparagus is high in iron and other minerals and vitamins that our body needs. And it's really good to have something that you can just plant and year after year after year, it just gets thicker and comes on. I love asparagus with uh, a red meat. And some of the stems you can just take it and just run your hand straight down. It's okay if you get some stems on them. They'll dry out. Now we'll plant uh, these good seeds here, these new seeds, we'll plant around, oh, come January. I'll start them in pots. Um, and then whenever they get a little bigger, if they're for us, then I will go ahead and put them in the ground. If we take them to market, then I'll leave them in pots and keep growing the crowns. What I was getting at a while ago, what I like about asparagus, it's one of those plants that you can just plant and not really forget about it, but it's a low maintenance plant. You know, in the first year or so, you really want to keep the weeds away from it, the grass and everything. They compete with nutrients. And so, but after they get established, they really just take care of themselves. Now, even though asparagus season is over, technically, um, we're still getting new stalks coming up. We have one here. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's still in the form that it can be eaten. And you know, this is just loaded with seeds. Now, I forget the specific name, but we have we have three different types of asparagus growing in here. One of them, I don't know the name of because, like I said, it was the homesteaders that lived before us here. And the other two starts we got from a local nursery in Tulsa. And one of them is a red asparagus, which I love because it's loaded with antioxidants. Uh, it helps clean the platelets in the blood. Your fighting free radicals, and I love that. I'm a big believer in your food being your medicine. Now, don't get me wrong, I love me some Sonic, Pizza Hut. I love pizza. Which is actually going to be a project out here is building a pizza oven. And now I'm not going to take all of these seeds. I do want to leave some for the fuswa, the birds. That depend on these for their winter food, as long as we can keep our turkeys off of them. But there's plenty here to share. There's always plenty to share. Now, our red asparagus hasn't started seeding yet, which is okay. Um, we may get it next year. This is only the uh, third or fourth year of it growing out here. And so if it hasn't come on yet, that's fine. Now, asparagus, you have to wait a couple of years before you can harvest it to eat it. Um, it's one of those plants that you got to be patient with and put it somewhere to where it can just grow and be itself. Get used to the land, and each year it just thickens up more and more. Um, Male plants are what you eat. Uh, that's what you'll see in the grocery stores and on dinner plates in restaurants. Um, there's a male and a female, and probably every gender in between there. And so the female is what gives you the seed. And a lot of people don't like their asparagus going to seed immediately because they will go to seed immediately. And when they do, it will stop the males from growing so vigorously. So a lot of people will just take them and cut them out, and we leave them. Um, we may, the first couple of weeks, we may start taking them out um, just so that the males can get a little larger. We wait until they're around anywhere from 8 to 10 inches before we cut them to eat. And it doesn't all come off at once. And so if you can find a way to preserve it, what we do is we cut them uh, and chop them and then freeze them. We don't blanch. I don't really think there's a need to blanch them immediately. And as we collect more throughout the season, we just add them to the bag, the gallon bag or the bread sack, whatever we have them in. I am looking before reaching off in here. And like I said, we're leaving. We're probably splitting 50-50 here, leaving half on and taking half with us. Um, and that's just so, like I said, the birds of the wild can have something to nibble on. You know, the birds out here are, it's everywhere. They're extremely intelligent. They know when these berries are ripe and they will wait. They do the same thing with persimmons. wild plums, and they wait until they are good and ripe before they come in. Now they'll check them throughout the season. And they'll stay close and they'll defend a good crop. All right, I think that'll do us right here. So that'll give us 2 good size bowls here. And I left quite a few on there. And next I'll go up and I'll show you, and we will up pot some that we started in January. And they're just tiny, very tiny. And but they're ready to size up in their pot, and they'll go dormant and they'll come back next spring, and then they'll be considered a 2-year-old. And no, I'm sorry, a 1-year-old. So, and like I said, you want to wait a couple of years before chomping down on them or picking them, and you can kill the crown by picking them too soon, and which is usually the biggest hang up that people have whenever they try to grow asparagus. They just tend to be a little too eager when it comes time to pick. So I'm just going to check the backside and see what's available, or if any. And there doesn't look to be too many on this side. We still have loads of red coming in. This is a red. They are delicious. Now we have some down here on the end. And when I take seed, I like to take a little bit from everywhere. So I took about half of what was growing on down here, and I'll take half of what's coming up over here, half or a third, one of them. Asparagus is a friendly plant, and what I mean by that is you can grow it pretty much around anything. Tomatoes, peppers. I am sure there are some plants that they do not like to grow around, but I haven't really come across any yet. We rotate our beds out here anyways, so it's hard to tell. I've got my eyes peeled for Jake the snake that may be out here. You never know, the most sneaky things. So this one is browned out. And we'll just go ahead and pull it on out of there, but you can see the berries that's still on there. These berries are good. These berries are actually really good. This is what a lot of people wait for. I wait for the redness of the berry. If they're still green, they're not ready. You want to wait until they're good and red. Now this little dead branch still has purpose. It will go over in the compost pile. We have a compost over there. It sits in the south and it in direct sunlight. And it will just finish breaking down over there. Now on the good thing about waiting until the branch dies is you can just take your finger and just go through and pull them off just in a... Now it won't make that noise, but... All right. I believe we have this one stripped down. So if any of y'all out there have a way of collecting seed, or if you love asparagus, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you like to fix it. We like our steamed. We like it anyway. We like it raw, steamed, in soups. Grilled. When you freeze it, it's not really, it doesn't really hold up the body of it whenever it's grilled. It gets a little weak. So, but you know, it tastes great in stews. Adds nice texture and flavor. Now, if they pop open on you, that's fine. That's fine. They'll finish drying out. But you do tend to want to be a little delicate with them. You don't want them all to bust open. Now, we did a test on these. I believe I said this already. But when we first started growing them and starting them from seeds, we did a little observation test. And what that consisted of is in one pot, we broke open the seeds and we planted them individually, thinking that we would get more plants that way. Well, none of those came into fruition or germinated. So on another batch, we went through and planted one red berry per cell. And that was the batch that gave us the germination. And so I just kind of took that as a sign, and it was like, well, we'll just go ahead and keep doing it that way. And this is what we just picked. And this is, you can hear a difference even in the sounds. This sounds more dense. Those sound a lot more light in weight. So that's how you gather asparagus seeds. And I'm going to go up and put you guys on pause, and I'll show you what we started back in late winter to get them going and to get them on their cycle. And we'll up pot those, or upsize the pots, up pot, whatever you want to call it. So we'll see you in a minute. All right, and we're back here at my potting station, and This is what we got started in January, and this is about as big as they'll get here, and we left them in their little starting things. Not every one of them germinated, but that was okay. This is a 3, 6. This is 6 of them that did germinate. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through and put them in a larger pot and give their crowns. Asparagus gets really long. Their crowns do, their roots. And so you want to make sure that you give them adequate space to do that. And in doing that, you want to make sure they have a large enough pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to put 3 in this one, and I'm going to put 3 in another. So just go through, and this is just regular topsoil. One good thing about having goats is their manure is a very good, it's good and fertilized, and it's a slow fertilization. It doesn't burn up plants like chicken manure does. And because of that, you can work with it immediately. Now look at the crowns on these, the roots. You can see just how prolific they really start growing. And anyways, back to the soil. I just use regular topsoil. To get my topsoil, I go out and I take it from around the hay feeders. The goats are constantly there. What goes in has to come out. I guess is the best way to put that. And when they're there eating, they are constantly going to the bathroom. And so because of that, that soil, that topsoil is extremely rich with nutrients and vitamins and everything that these plants need. And so that saves us from having to go in and buy soil. So the goats are doing their part, so to speak, as far as helping us out here. That's why we never complain about the cost of feeding them, and what they do, because they provide so much and save us so much money in the long run. And that's it, y'all. And like I said, next year or come January, these will be considered 1-year-old. And I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 3 or 5 years or 7 years before you want to wait before eating asparagus. So this is done. I'm just going to set it to the back right now. I'm going to water all at once, and so this cell was no good. It probably had some at one time. You can see the rooting in it, but the turkeys did have access to it, so they could have had an asparagus lunch. I don't really think I need the spade for this. And you do have to watch it, if you do raise chickens or turkeys, guineas, anything like that, because they will strip baby asparagus because they are so tender. You just want to give it a good press and make sure it's down in there good and standing up. water in a moment, it will really pack it down and get it settled. If it browns out on you, that's okay. It's towards the end of the season, so come spring, it'll come back. But you do want to keep it watered. Be mindful of that. Always, always, always water your plants. Water is life, and every living thing needs water. So yeah, when we go collect the soil, I just take a flat shovel and I just scrape the first 1 or 2 inches of the soil and throw it in the wheelbarrow, and that's that. That has all of the nutrients you need in it for your seed starting. It does for us anyways. You'll get little grub worms out of it, but that's okay. Worms are a part of nature. The chickens love these grub worms, so I collect them. I set them to the side, and I'll take them out here in a little bit and throw them down on the ground for them, and they just go bananas over them. All right, so that's all done, and we reuse the soil. I know they say not to, but I just don't use you can see this was the root ball. I don't know if it was grass or what, but I'll throw that in the raised bed and deal with it later. Ain't no sense in burning it or throwing it away. We try to reuse the waste around here. So now these little containers, what I'll do is it's this simple, go through and I'll refill them. Now you do want to break up the clods. This has been sitting for a while. I've been waiting to get the right equipment to be able to do this little video here of seed collecting. And now it is a little early, but these will probably stay dormant in here. And if they come up, that's fine. You're going to bring them in and protect them over winter anyways, or I do. And I just make a little space for them in the chogochi, the outhouse. Our outhouse is our greenhouse too. So we are a little bit off grid with our plumbing. We don't have a bathroom indoors. When we built the house, I didn't want to put a bathroom inside. Just my thinking, I just felt like it was disrespectful to your home to do that inside. So we made an outhouse, a chogochi. So I have a little stick here. This little stick, I'm just going to go through right down in the center. And out of what we picked a couple of months ago, the lighter color, I'm just going to put 1 seed in the cell. Boop. That's it. Cover it up. And we will see you in a couple of months on that. Go through, do the next one. Now I'm sure there's a top and a bottom of the seed. I don't know personally what it is. A lot of seeds form backwards whenever they start coming on. Whenever you're planting these, I go about a 1/2 inch down. Now I know in nature they'll just fall on the ground and you don't really have to scratch the earth, and they find their way. Now we do mimic that on a lot of our seeds out here. We don't actually do the process of scratching and then putting the seed in. You know, there are things that you don't do that to. One of those things is peppers. You're really, to get a good germination, you don't want to make a hole and put the seed in. You just want to kind of lightly cast them on the ground and water well, and you'll have peppers. Tomatoes, we start our tomatoes that way. Our peppers, um, quite a few plants we start that way, just by casting them on the ground. Carrots, lettuce, um, our brassicas, um, cabbages, broccolis, things like that. And so that's that. So there's 8 more that we just did up right there to replace the 8 or the 6 that we took out. And we'll get these a little drink. Because water is life. Now, something else I found really interesting about seedlings when you're starting your own, a lot of people water from top down, and when you cast directly on the soil without scratching the earth and putting them in, they will a lot of times float out and go with the flow of water. So to avoid that, you can see how the water is coming onto the center of this plywood. Now we didn't mean to build it this way. It did it over time. You know, the elements have kind of bowed it and everything. So what I'll do is I'll leave these starts right here on this soil or on this platform, and the water will soak up from the bottom up, and that saves me from having the water top down and causing the seed to emerge and float away. So that's just a good rule of thumb, that whenever you start your seedlings, water from the bottom up instead of the top down, and you can have a better germination. So I saved my little stick because this is a good little stick here, and I just put it over there, and I'm going to go through and water these down again. These pots are a lot larger, so you really want to make sure to water them well. And voila. The next item that we're going to go through is our carrots. We are starting to get carrot seeds, and I'll take you guys along with me on that. But real quick, I'm going to go put these back into the sunlight because that's what they're accustomed to. If I pull them into the shade now, with the way that our sun, that we've been having 104, 108 heat index, if I leave them in the shade, if I move them to the shade, and when the sun hits them, it'll just burn them up. So they are accustomed to the sun. I just got to get them back out into the sun. So the place I'm putting them is out in the garden by the bed that they were at. I'll get them used to that sunlight because that's where they'll probably go. And they're so tiny, you can't even see them. Just so light. All right. Now, these new seedlings I'll leave here, and I'll let them soak up this water off the ground or off of this platform here. That one doesn't need to soak up, so I'll set that to the side. And I'll check them in about an hour and see how moist they are. And these will probably go, I'll set off in the shade for now. I don't really care if they germinate right now. That's not really the goal. I was just kind of going through to show you. Like I said, we wait until around January before we get them started to get them into that cycle. And so that's asparagus. And give me a moment and get set up, and we will do carrots. All right, you guys, we are back. And this is a raised bed that we made a couple of years ago. And this sits right next to our outhouse, or our chogochi. And this bed here is specifically for carrot growing. We didn't do too hot when we grew carrots in the ground, but ever since we started growing in a raised bed, they've just been extremely prolific. They are vigorous. This is towards the end of their season, and we keep a window open up here to allow airflow into the outhouse. And because of that, some of the rain doesn't make its way down here, and the water that it does get is what I water it. And so I don't know if you can see, this half has done better, and this half is starting to dry up. Now, last year, did you know carrots bloom in their second year, not their first year? I had no idea that. I found that out watching another video, and last year, when I went through and cleared all the carrots, there was carrots that I didn't get. And so because of that, we were able to get seed. The heads of the flowers start off in an umbral shape, umbral being similar to like an umbrella. There are many plants in nature that mimic this. Poisonous plants, deadly plants, or highly medicinal plants, I should say, not poisonous. And so you really have to know and identify what you're working with whenever you are working with carrots. I do have my scissors because collecting carrot seed, the ends of them have dried up, and I am going to snip. There's some more seed that's coming off of the back heads. I'm going to leave those, but I'm going to snip this and come in a little closer and show you here. You want to wait until the seed has dried and is brown, and the seeds are in these little sticky pieces there. And they are extremely tiny. So what I'll do, I have another coffee filter here to help catch the moisture. I'll just go through and I'll just rub them between my fingers and pull those seeds off. Now, not all of them will come off, and that's fine. Since this bed is designated to carrots, I will throw this head in the bed itself, and I won't compost that. That will be its compost in itself. So what I'm going to do now is just go through and clip the ones that are ready. This one is a good one to show you. You can see there are hundreds upon hundreds of seeds on this. You can see how fuzzy they are. That allows them to cling and to be carried, whether by wildlife, the wind, anything like that. So I'm going to see if I can balance this on my lap or my knee. Now I'm just going to take the whole head. I'm not going to clean it out here. I'm just going to take the whole head and just stick it on in my little bowl here. I'll turn it upside down like that, just in case anything falls off. The bowl will catch it. And as of right now, we don't have too many to collect. Some still have some drying out to do. Now, by collecting our own seed, this was an heirloom quality, so we will, as long as you process the seed correctly and store it correctly, you'll have years of carrot seeds. And I love carrots. I love carrots boiled, steamed, pickled. I love pickled carrots. I think that's one of my favorites. And we just take them and chop them down in half or into little matchstick slices and stick them in a nice brine of vinegar, equal parts vinegar and water. I'll add some spices to them, such as dill, fresh dill. I like mine spicy, so I'll use a couple of habaneros and cayennes and jalapenos to throw in there with them. If we have cauliflower, I'll add a little cauliflower to it, and it just makes for a nice treat. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just going through and cleaning the umbrals, the flower heads, and I'm just taking my fingers and rolling them gently, not too rough. Now, a good carrot seed is going to be brown to black, and it's not that I'm distracted. I'm looking around to make sure Jake the snake's not around. We've got a lot of snakes. Oklahoma is very, very snaky, and it's good to see them before they see you. And just move out of their way and let them do their job. All right, so this one has kind of been picked clean. There's still a little on there, but I'm just going to throw it back into the bed. Now come spring, um, I say spring, very early spring, late winter. Snow and frost is not an issue in these raised beds because we protect these raised beds. We use a piece of siding, tin, that is bendable, and it's able to fold over and fold into the back, and then we stuff hay into the ends of them, and that allows, similar to a little greenhouse effect that we cause in the bed, so it heats the soil up really good. One year we had probably about a foot of snow that fell out here, and before it snowed I had put in spinach, carrots, and we covered them, but the temperatures were so low. I thought for sure that nothing was going to germinate, and so come out and uncovered everything, and lo and behold, everything had germinated, and oh, I was so excited. That was such a good year. And that was really when I learned how to pickle carrots. All right, so we've collected off of this one, and it goes back into the bed. Now, I enjoy collecting seeds. It is a part of gardening and homesteading. It really makes you think of the next generations. It puts you in the mindset of next year, and it gets you excited. It does me anyways, when I start collecting seed, because I start thinking of the possibilities, and hope. I love the hope it gives me. Lets me know that when we get seed, it's a pat on the back that says, "Attaboy, Michael, attaboy." All right, now that one was a little immature. I shouldn't have pulled that one so soon, but now these still have some drying out to do. And so I'll leave them in this bowl because the seed is actually inside the little fuzzy husk that they're in. That's its protected outer layer. And I'll get rid of all the unwanted. The unwanted is leaves, stems, anything like that. All right. This is what we are left with. Now, there are tiny seeds that's inside these little hairy husks. And in about a week or 2 weeks, it'll be dried out, and I can go through and re-break them through my fingers, and they'll fall onto, you want to use something light colored, like a white plate or a coffee filter, something of that nature to help catch the seed, because they are tiny, very tiny. And carrot is another one of those things that you just cast on the ground. You don't really have to dig a hole or scratch for it, and they'll come on their own. Lightly water. And so I see a couple of shoulders in here. Shoulders are what tells you that the carrot is ready to pick. Whenever you see the orange in the shoulders, now these aren't very big, the shoulders trick me. But these will still make up good carrots to go into a pint jar for pickling. Now granted, we may plant too thick, and if you don't get all your carrots, that's fine. You want to leave some if you want to collect seed. Leave some carrots in the ground. They'll seed the following year, especially if they're just newbies. And you have to leave the root in the ground to get seed the next year. So I'm just going to go through here and see how many shoulders are showing. And by shoulders, I mean the tops of the carrots. Those are their shoulders. And so depending on how the soil is, they'll go deeper. And you can get some pretty large carrots if the soil is soft enough for them to grow down into. That's why I prefer to grow carrots in raised beds instead of the ground. In the ground, you gotta really till very deep. And the soil has to be conditioned really, really soft for that carrot to grow, or else it'll grow to the side, it'll get crooked, and you want good straight carrots. There's a lot of weeds growing in here. We tend to let this bed go. It's fairly easy to weed though. I mean, it's not something hard. And here they come. Well, hi, babies. I don't know if y'all hear those turkeys or not. I wonder where they were at. They've been over there in the shade. It's a little warm. They are my eyes and my ears when I'm working out here. They let me know when a snake is around. They make a noise, a cautionary noise. Okay, so on a couple of these, I gotta get a helper. Now, a lot of times whenever I plant carrots this thick, what I'll do is I'll just take a shovel and I'll go in here and I'll turn the whole bed upside down. And but we won't do that this year because for the sake of getting seeds. So that's a good size one. Can I see that one? Another mess. They're over here dusting themselves in the walkway. Now our next big grow I want to try to get going is rainbow carrots. And they are some of the most beautiful looking carrots I've ever seen. They'll be white, purple, red, and I really think it depends on your soil when growing rainbow carrots, different acidities. Although I don't really know, I've never really grown any. This one has gotten some damage on it. Something has worked in there and eaten on that. So it could be a grub worm. What I'll do on these is I will cut them and then throw them back into, we don't eat those. If there's any damage on them, we don't mess with them. Just for the sake of, I'm not sure what kind of critter was eating on them. And you don't want to share your food with mice. Mice or rats, they carry viruses and diseases. Now in this bed, I put eggshell, ground up eggshells in it. That helps with keeping the slugs away. And when I say I use eggshells, I use a lot of eggshells, not just a little handful. It's quite a few that go into it. And snails don't like traveling across eggshells, especially when they're ground up small. It irritates them. As you can see, we're getting some good sized ones out of it. Oh yeah, it's a good size one. And like I said, I'm not going to take them all. I'm going to leave the smaller ones for seeds. We have some in here that have started to seed already. Oh, I thought that one was going to be bigger. Look at that crown on it. We do have one in here that has begun to seed. This was leftover. This was a carrot that I didn't get last year. Whenever I turned the bed, I thought I'd gotten them all. Thank goodness I didn't. We waited, when we first grew carrots, we waited and waited for it to go to seed, and they just wouldn't go to seed. And I was just like, what in the world? What are we doing wrong? And, well, what that was is knowing that they are a biannual bloomer. It takes 2 years for them to bloom, so unbeknownst to me, it was nothing that I was doing except for being just a bit too eager. Now I gotta find out where this one is blooming from so I don't pull it. There we go. It's over that way. Another thing we use in our little beds here is activated charcoal. These are little. You probably won't keep those. And the activated charcoal helps with soil. Oh, look at these. They twisted up together. There's looks like a 2 in there. I don't know if y'all can see that, the way they twisted up in marriage. So now these are getting a little smaller, so I'll just leave these, and these will be our seed for next year too. Go through and just get the weeds out. Now I know I've probably disturbed some of them, so I'll go through and water, and that will just repack down that soil. All right, so that is our carrot bed. This bed is about 10 foot long and about 2 foot wide. And you know, it works for us. It really does work for us. It gives us plenty to grow. Still pull good sized ones out of there. The smaller ones we'll pack in a quart jar, or I'm sorry, a pint jar, and they'll pack nicely in that. I'm just going through and double checking my work, making sure that I have the ones that need to be picked. Carrots can get woody, so when they get woody, they're not edible. Now, I don't know if they still are if you pickle them. It'd be something to try and see. You know, maybe the brine will soften them up. I don't really know. I've never done that, but it's first time for everything. All right. Now, I do believe that is all we're going to take out of this bed. The rest of this will be used for seed next year. And look at that. Oh, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. And this just tells me I got some cleaning to do. So behind me here, we got 3 different beds here. We got this one for carrots. This one back here is sweet potatoes. Creek Nation gave us food packs when pandemic occurred, and for a household of one, they had 4 to 6 potatoes, sweet potato yams that were in there. And we kind of made a decision then. It was, well, we can eat these now, and have a meal for now, or we can try to plant them and see what we get. And that was in 2020 when they gave out those food packets. And this is 4 years later, and we turned those those four yams into, the next year we grew about 7 pounds. Last year we grew probably around 20 pounds. And then this year we will probably get anywhere from 20 to maybe 30 pounds out of this bed. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have 10 potatoes in there, and we're hoping to get anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds off of each. I know the math doesn't really add up, but not all of them are large potatoes. Some of them are small. The smaller ones we save either to use for seed, or I make dog food. And in our dog food, we use peanut butter, rice, bones. When we cook down a chicken or a turkey, everything gets used off of it. And sweet potatoes are a great additive to add to dog food. It's loaded with nutrients that mammals need. Dogs, humans, both. It makes our hair nice and shiny. It makes our bones strong, and it's a great additive to add into dog food if you make your own dog food. And along with the peanut butter, and rice is more of just a filler. But the dogs love it. They love it whenever there's sometimes that we will run out of dog food, and it's a Saturday or a Friday, and I loathe going to the store, and so we make what we can when we can, and that's one of those things that I learned how to make was dog food, and they love it. They love when they run out of dog food because they know. And the good thing is you can make a large stock pot of it. And we have 2 dogs, so what I do is I go through and I'll fill up a gallon bag. They'll get a half gallon each whenever it thaws. I freeze it. They have a little area in the freezer where it's stacked up and frozen. And we just pull it out as we need it, stick it in some warm water and it thaws, and it also heats it up. They're a little spoiled. They don't like cold dog food whenever it's fixed that way. So it has to warm up to a warm temperature, or room temperature, or warmer, which is fine whenever we heat with a wood-burning stove inside in the wintertime. I'll just set their food next to that stove and it'll heat it up. And they're quite content with that. This bed here is used for spinach and lettuces. Right now it has volunteer tomatoes that's growing up, and I let them go because the chickens and the turkeys have learned to forage for them, and they'll eat out of this bed, and we have another 2 beds on the back side of the property, back side of the house, that they'll go and forage off of as well. So, well guys, that's this morning's seed gathering. I appreciate y'all spending time with me, and I'd love to hear from y'all. How do you like to fix carrots? How do you like to grow carrots? And if you do, and if not, we just hope that we offer a little inspiration that gets you up and moving and getting out and gardening, spending some time outside, and spending some time in nature and readjusting yourself to what's natural. And we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for spending time with us.